My dad used to play here, so he played here, played on the wing, and then made his way into play flanker by the end when he slowed down. And so when I was really small, my first memories here were I had no interest in rugby whatsoever. I remember being brought into the changing room, sitting on my dad's lap, so I must have been very small, in the changing room after one of the games. So we were always kind of brought along to the games, but with my mum, myself and my brother, and then started playing here when I was 5. My brother was under 8, so he was 7, and my dad was coaching the team, so I think I was kind of just brought along, get me out of the house for a bit. So I wasn't allowed to play games for the first year or two because I was too young, but I used to train away here, and then kind of played here up until I was 12 then.
The club was founded there was actually a club in the 1950s that faded away and died in the late 50s, and then it was refounded in 1963, and our dad, Billy Clark, was one of the founding members, and his brother Pat and a number of other likely lads who came together and decided to reform the club.
Dad injured himself early on in play. We never saw him playing. He told us he was brilliant, but I don't think that was true actually. But our uncle Pat and Peter both played here, really good rugby players to a high standard. But we just got involved from just being here, I suppose. Yeah.
But in the 1970s then they bought 8 acres here, and they set out to build a small clubhouse, just changing rooms initially, and a pitch. And myself and Brian probably spent weekends picking stones off the pitch with everyone else's kids, and that was the pitch that's here today, you know. So, but that was the beginnings of the club and in Ashtown Lane.
I remember talking out in the back of the Grand Hotel as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid. Wasn't even sure where I was going. Home games could be anywhere, the Beehive, out Tinakilly. You weren't sure who you were even playing. The community rugby officer for Wicklow, I'm linked to Leinster, obviously, and my local club, Wicklow Rugby Club, and in partnership with local county council, Wicklow County Council, I'm helping the schools to bring these children into an environment where sport becomes a natural thing, and team sport, for me, becomes a natural thing. But it's nice to have role models that they can actually identify with, as opposed to maybe the superstar on TV. I mean, all of these people are approachable, and we are very, very blessed and lucky in both Ella and we'll say Josh anyway, who are ambassadors for our club, and you know, well recognised throughout Leinster, Ireland, and our community. Yeah.
Yeah, Dad was actually captain of the senior men's team back in 96, 97 I think, and he'll get mad at me now because that's showing his age, but yeah, Dad's always been a huge part of, I think, both myself and Beth's kind of career here in Wicklow. I mean, this is actually a lovely story, but when I was about 9 or 10, I remember Dad was coaching the senior women's team at the time. I think they were only about Division 4, but I remember when we'd ask him, you know, why are you doing this? He'd always say, because when you're older, I want there to be a women's team for you, and I want you guys to be able to play with Wicklow. And I just think that's absolutely fantastic, because from such a young age, we've had a pathway to kind of go on. You know, we know that when we go from under 15s to under 18s, that there is a senior women's team, and that, you know, we can still play for Wicklow. We don't have to move. It's a bit surreal, really, to be honest with you. I mean, I've been here since I was as long as I can remember, really, and then to now have, you know, children walking by and be like, oh my gosh, there's Ella, or there's Josh, or there's whoever. It's fantastic, really. I mean, I feel like a celebrity, but I'm not. I'm just Ella, you know, in my eyes. The main thing is it's so important to have role models for these children to look up to, and I think that's something we've done really, really well here in Wicklow. I mean, we have, I think, over 200 girls playing now in the youth section, which is absolutely fantastic, and I think that's kind of how important the sustainability of it is. I mean, to have long-term success for our women's team, we have to have players feeding in. I mean, we're not a Dublin club, we don't kind of have the ability to almost rely on colleges kind of feeding us players, and I think that's something that's been realised here in Wicklow for a long, long time. I mean, Ronan Griffey, I think we actually had a players meeting at the start of the year just just to share kind of why we play. And I think 80% of the women said that Ronan Griffey was the reason why they kind of started rugby. So I think it's people like him that have kind of invested so much of their time and realised that kind of long-term success of a team comes from grassroots.
I always think back to standing just outside here, just outside the clubhouse, and it was the end of season and they're presenting the prize as like the player of the year or like the most improved of the year, that kind of thing. And they had I think, I'm actually not sure exactly who it was, but I remember they'd played either Leinster underage or they were Leinster player of some kind. And I remember being so in awe, like completely, I was maybe 5 or 6 at the time, and I remember being completely in awe of this person who was here, who had come to hand out the prizes. And I always think back to that, because then you see the kids at the game, or you're talking to a few of the rugby players, and I was like, that must be, I was that kid before, looking up at someone who was kind of where you'd aspire to be, playing for Leinster or whatever. So that's something I always think back on when I have those moments, and it makes it all the more special, I guess, when you have the kids from Wicklow, especially at the games. A few times we've had the Wicklow banners and everything, and the Wicklow jersey's been well represented. I remember playing New Ross once. The one that stands out, I remember playing New Ross, and I didn't know Tyke Furlong at the time, but it turned out it was him playing, because I just remember I remember talking to him about it. I was like, there was 2 really big guys on the team, and it was him and one of the other guys on the team, on his team. So it had to have been him. And I remember, gosh, it must have been 8 or 9 at the time. And I remember it was like open field, and the 2 big lads. You always, when you're that age, you always remember like the big guys, because the big guys on the team. The 2 of them were like, I don't know how it ended up happening, but obviously it's the nature of underage rugby. The 2 of them were kind of at fullback, so there was like a gap. The try line was in the middle, and the 2 of them were either side. And I tried to sprint straight for the middle. I thought I'd make it, and I got sandwiched between them, 2 of them.
It is a real family club, and it's a place where you can come. There's always a bunch of people up here. There's always a bit of crack going on, and you'll always feel very welcome, you know. And our kids are playing up here. Our wives have their friends up here. You know, all our friends are up here. You know, so it is a real family club, you know. And it's a place where you'll always feel very welcome, I think. You know.
When we got to Wicklow, I played some rugby with the Bulls when I was a junior, and with the Lions clubs for many years. So I knew rugby had an impact in people's life, especially in a rugby country, which I know Ireland is. And the first thing I did when I got here is Google the rugby club, and I saw Wicklow Rugby Club, and so, well, it's just up the road. So okay, and I started walking, nearly 2 k's up the road, and it's up the mountain. And I got here and I said, oh, there's no one there, but listen, there's someone. He's on a tracker cutting grass, Frank Roberts. And he came and he stopped and he greeted, and we started chatting, and no, I must come here, and this is a club, and asking me a few questions just to find out where I'm from, what I'm doing, and telling me when I must come through to the club, because the season was just about to start. And I came through, and suddenly there's Jason and there's Graham, and I started meeting everyone, and it seems like everyone knew that I'm here, and it's just been amazing from there how things developed. The club's involvement with the asylum seekers, with the Grand Hotel, to get them in, you say, others, do they want to play? Some of them, yeah, they're interested, they never played, they're from Albania, they're from Georgia. Now come, you're interested? Yeah, I want to try, come with. Even if I take it from my daughter's side, from my side, I knew that's what rugby does. Rugby gets people together. Rugby is just an unbelievable thing. And the weirdest thing for me was to see it in my daughter. I mean, never in my life I thought my daughter will play rugby. She played netball. She played a sport when you get the ball, you must stop. Now she's playing total different thing, and she loves it. And the women, the senior women, is just awesome. They pulling her in. They just phone her and say, listen, we're coming to pick you up, or this, we're going there, after practice this, and it's been amazing. And the change in her, the change in being involved. I mean, she's more involved with Wicklow now than she ever were before with a sport in South Africa. It's just what Wicklow Rugby did was just unbelievable. That's an imprint that Wicklow has had on us and our family. It's even though the little ones, like when they came here, they were one, but Wicklow is just, they love Wicklow. So it's just something. It's the people here, the support for everything is just incredible. And I knew that's rugby, but this is something else.
I think just to continue to spread the love of rugby in the community, to welcome people into the club, and to continue to grow and improve, to continue to improve our facilities for the young people, and to make it an even better part of the community than it already is. I think that's really important to us all, and we do our best at that. And every year we try and improve the facilities that we have here for the young people, and try and improve our offering, if you like. So I think we're quite good at that, and we'll continue to strive to do that, I think.
I think what I would like as well, I mean, you bring these kids up to love the game that we love, but I'd love to see some of the existing players, and there's some great ones there, girls and boys, getting involved in the coaching side of things, getting involved in the committee side of things afterwards. And if that happens, we've done our job.